We do start our show, though, with unfortunate news out of the WNBA. Caitlin Clark announced today that she will miss both the three-point contest and the WNBA All-Star Game this upcoming weekend in Indiana after re-aggravating a groin injury in that final minute of Tuesday's win over the Connecticut Sun. Clark had missed 4 games and the Commissioner's Cup final with that groin injury earlier this month, and now will be out for this weekend's festivities, which really stinks for fans. But you know that if there was any way that she could be out
there. Adam Silver just watched the WNBA's Golden Goose confirm she's missing the All-Star Game due to another injury, and the timing couldn't be worse. With CBA negotiations falling apart and lockout threats looming, Clark's absence from the league's biggest weekend has NBA leadership seriously concerned. The warnings are coming from the top. Do you think Adam Silver is right to be concerned about how the WNBA is protecting their biggest asset during this critical time? Let me break down what just happened and why this is absolutely catastrophic for the WNBA. Caitlin Clark announced Thursday afternoon she will not participate in Saturday's All-Star Game or Friday's three-point contest after aggravating a right groin injury Tuesday. But here's the kicker. This isn't just any weekend. This is happening right in the middle of CBA negotiations that could determine whether the WNBA even has a 2026 season.
I'll leave the specific question about the foul to my colleague, Commissioner Engelbert. I mean, I other than as a fan, obviously, it's nothing new in basketball that there's sort of welcome to league moments, especially for heralded rookies. But of course, I want to see Caitlin treated fairly.
Adam Silver has previously stated, "Of course, I want to see Caitlin treated fairly and appropriately in the league." And watching the WNBA's biggest star miss their marquee event due to injury mismanagement has to be raising some serious red flags. When you've got a commissioner from a partner league publicly expressing concerns about player treatment, that's not just friendly advice. That's a warning shot.
Out there, she would be. Shortly before the show, Clark released this statement through the Fever's social media account saying that she's so excited for Indiana to host WNBA All-Star this weekend, and that she says she knows that this is going to be the best All-Star yet. But she does go on to say how incredibly sad and, quote, disappointed she will not be able to participate, adding, quote, "I have to rest my body. I'll still be at Gainbridge Fieldhouse for all of the action. I'm looking forward to helping Sandy coach our team."
The timing of Clark's injury announcement is absolutely brutal for the WNBA, and it's time to call out the people responsible for this disaster. Kathy Angelbert has been an absolute failure as commissioner when it comes to protecting the league's most valuable asset. Sports columnist Christine Brennan has publicly called out Angelbert, saying the way she has trouble talking about Caitlin Clark, or if she's asked about Caitlin, she'll say Caitlin and Angel. Well, she wasn't asked about Angel, you know. This is the commissioner who's supposed to be promoting the league's biggest star. And she can't even mention Clark's name without deflecting to other players. That's not leadership. That's organizational incompetence at the highest level. The numbers tell the brutal truth about what happens when Clark is out of the lineup. Nationally televised WNBA viewership is down 55% since her injury, with Fever national TV games dropping from 1,810,000 average viewers before her injury to just 847,000 viewers since her injury. That's a 53% drop that represents millions of dollars in lost revenue. And Angliard is sitting there acting like everything's fine. Let's talk about the officiating catastrophe that led to this moment. According to Chinesiologist Dr. Lucas Seehafer, players have suffered 141 injuries since opening day. There are just 179 active players in the league, and teams played just 44 games apiece. That's absolutely insane math that should have Angelberg demanding immediate changes. But instead, she's demonstrating all the firmness of a silk dress in addressing this crisis.
But in terms of the comments, in terms of the way the commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, who I've known and I like, the way she has trouble talking about Caitlin Clark, or if she's asked about Caitlin, then she will say, well, Caitlin and Angel. Well, she wasn't asked about Angel, she was asked about Caitlin. This incredible inability to deal with the facts and to state the obvious it is astounding to me how Kathy Engelbert doesn't come out after the Marina Mabry hit and say, that's unacceptable, the refs got it wrong. Okay, should have been kicked out then, you weren't, but now I'm gonna...
The officiating has been so bad that WNBA legend Rebecca Lobo called out officials during a game saying, "There's a grab, there's a hold, there's another grab. I mean, all of those are fouls. Every single one of them. And then here, that's a foul. That's foul." As Clark was being constantly fouled without calls. When legends of the game are publicly calling out officials on live television, that's not just bad. Officiating, that's a systemic failure. Clark's own coach has been forced to repeatedly call out the officiating disaster. Indiana Fever coach Stephanie White criticized WNBA referees, saying, "I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. The disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable." When coaches are using words like egregious and disrespect, that's not competitive griping, that's calling out organizational failure.
The ball handler, there's a grab, there's a hold, there's another grab. I mean, all of those are fouls. Every single one of them. And here, that's a foul, and finally they call.
The most damning indictment of the officiating came after the Connecticut Sun game, where Clark was repeatedly targeted. White said, "Everybody's getting better, except the officials," during a multi-minute rant that called out Tuesday's refs for losing control of the game and criticized the league and officials as a whole for failing to improve.
Who is played 9 years in Indiana and now on the staff. And that's a live shot now of Caitlin Clark.
She continued, "Every year when we have our league meetings in the fall and in the spring, we say the same thing over and over and over, and nothing has changed."
Ever been. The game is fast now. Things are happening quickly. Everybody's getting better, except the officials. So we gotta find a way to remedy it. I mean, you've heard every coach talk about it, so I don't know what the answer is.
That's a coach publicly stating that the league has known about officiating problems for years and has done absolutely nothing to fix them. Under Engelbert's leadership, the officials have gotten worse while the league has gotten more popular and more important. The specific incidents that led to Clark's current injury are textbook examples of officiating failure. Marina Mabry shoved Clark to the ground after a dead ball, initially receiving only a technical foul before the WNBA was forced to upgrade it to a flagrant 2 after public backlash. The officials couldn't even get the call right in real time and only changed it after being embarrassed publicly. Even Clark's brother Colin blamed the officials on social media, tweeting, "Make no mistake, this is on the reffing after seeing his sister get injured due to poor game management." When family members are publicly calling out the league's officiating, that's not just frustration. That's a family watching their loved one get hurt because officials won't do their jobs. Engelbert's response to these officiating concerns has been absolutely pathetic. When confronted about officiating complaints, Engelbert said, "I do find it interesting when you sit in the chair I sit in that no winning team ever complains about officiating. No losing team ever doesn't complain about officiating. That's not leadership. That's dismissive arrogance from someone who clearly doesn't understand the problem." The business implications of Engelbert's failures are staggering. In 2024, the WNBA saw 23 games hit 7 figures in viewership, and Clark was involved in all but 3 of those games. On the list of most watched WNBA games this season, you have to go down to number 15 to find the first game, without the Fever. Clark is literally carrying the entire league's viewership, and Engelbert can't even protect her from getting injured. The revenue impact is equally massive. ESPN experienced a 170% increase in WNBA TV ratings, with viewership increasing from 454,000 to over 1.2 million average viewers in 2024. ION achieved 133% TV ratings increase from 2023. This is all because of Clark, and Engelbert's inability to protect her is jeopardizing hundreds of millions of dollars in future revenue. The pattern of missed calls and dangerous play has been going on all season. Tuesday's game between the Fever and Sun finished with 5 technicals, 3 players ejected, 2 flagrant fouls, and 1 huge mess. Yet, officials failed to control the game from the beginning. This wasn't one bad sequence. This was officials completely losing control because they've been allowed to operate without standards. The betting market tells the real story about Clark's impact. Sports betting on Indiana Fever games suffered a near 50% drop within a week of Clark being injured, with roughly 50% of betting activity dropping off compared to games Clark played. When betting markets immediately react to one player's absence, that shows just how much revenue the league loses when Clark isn't playing. Silver's concerns about the WNBA's handling of Clark go beyond just player safety. Silver has acknowledged that the attention around Clark is very healthy for women's basketball, but has also expressed concerns about how she's being treated. When the NBA commissioner is publicly expressing concerns about WNBA player treatment, that's diplomatic language for fix this mess before we have to intervene. The systemic officiating problems extend far beyond just Clark. Kelsey Plum lost it in a profane rant after being continually roughed up, saying, "I get fouled like that on every possession. There are multiple shots where they're just coming out and justing swinging and they just don't call anything." This is happening to multiple star players, not just Clark. Angelbert's failure to address these problems is particularly damning, given the league's growth. Players and coaches say games are called inconsistently, with what's called a foul on one end not necessarily called on the other. And what constitutes a foul in the first quarter isn't the same in the fourth. That's not competitive basketball. That's chaos masquerading as professional sports. The All-Star Game timing makes this situation even more catastrophic. Clark's face is featured all around the city of Indianapolis this week, from the airport to the arena to the side of hotels, with the city hosting the 2025 WNBA All-Star Game, but she can't play because of injury issues. The city literally branded the entire event around her, and now she's watching from the bench because officials and league leadership failed to protect her. The CBA negotiations add another layer of urgency to this crisis. WNBA players are bracing for a possible work stoppage if progress isn't made soon on a new CBA, with the current agreement expiring October 31st, 2025. So, you've got labor tensions at an all-time high, and your biggest star is missing the All-Star Game due to injury mismanagement. The historical context makes this even worse. Clark did not miss a game in college or during her rookie year, but has been forced to sit for multiple stints so far this season, with a left quad injury holding her out for 5 games starting in May and a left groin injury costing her 5 games before her return in July. This is someone who is basically an Iron Woman for years, and suddenly, she can't stay healthy under WNBA management. The financial reality should terrify everyone involved in the WNBA. Clark's return game drew 2 million viewers with a peak of 2.8 million, up 76% over last season's average audience for WNBA games on ABC. When one player's presence can drive that kind of viewership spike, her absence represents catastrophic financial losses. Angelbert's promotion failures are equally damaging. Christine Brennan pointed out that she likes Kathy Angelberg, but the league office has to do better in promoting their most popular entity to further grow the fan base. When veteran sports journalists are publicly calling out the commissioner for failing to promote the league's biggest star, that's organizational malpractice. The officiating crisis has reached a point where fans have started online petitions demanding accountability, writing, "Since Caitlin Clark's arrival to the league, games involving the Indiana Fever have repeatedly been marred by questionable officiating, missed calls, and a lack of appropriate disciplinary action for overly aggressive and dangerous play." When fans are organizing petitions against your officiating, that's not just criticism. That's a revolt. The injury pattern is becoming impossible to ignore. Sports analyst Rachel Dea pointed out that Clark's injuries are jumping from quad to groin and now to another groin, saying, "You can't mess around with injuries that are moving around your body because it means that mechanically something isn't tracking right." This suggests that the constant physical abuse Clark takes due to poor officiating is creating mechanical problems with her body. The broader implications for women's sports are enormous. The 10 largest WNBA audiences since 2002 have all come this year, and they've all featured Clark. When one player is responsible for every single ratings record in over 2 decades, losing her to preventable injuries is sports malpractice of the highest order. Silver's previous comments about wanting Clark treated fairly and appropriately take on new urgency when you consider the business stakes. The league was projected to cross $1 billion in revenue this year, largely due to Clark's presence. When you're talking about billion-dollar revenue projections tied to one player, that player's health becomes a matter of organizational survival. The contrast between Clark's impact and the league's treatment of her couldn't be starker. Clark's Iowa career finale drew 12.3 million viewers, making it the most watched women's college basketball game ever, followed by a Final Four game that drew 14.22 million viewers, making it ESPN's most watched basketball game ever. This is someone who had already proven she could deliver massive audiences, and the WNBA is squandering that gift through incompetent leadership. The All-Star Weekend becomes a symbol of everything wrong with Angelbert's leadership. The weekend's events are a microcosm of the arguments each side brings to CBA negotiations, with players seeing the revenue coming from investment and wanting a piece of it. But how can you negotiate revenue sharing when your biggest revenue driver is constantly injured due to poor officiating? The international implications are also concerning. When your domestic league can't keep its biggest star healthy, international options start looking more attractive. The league's growth trajectory is entirely dependent on Clark's health and availability, and Angelbert's failures are jeopardizing that future. The most damning aspect of this entire situation is how preventable it all was. Better officiating, stronger leadership from the commissioner's office, and a focus on protecting star players could have avoided this crisis entirely. Instead, we have a league where officials are not salaried, are paid per game, and often split duties with NCAA basketball, creating a dual-role setup that presents challenges. This structural problem has created a situation where officials aren't properly trained or incentivized to protect the league's most valuable assets. The result is a league where your biggest star misses the All-Star Game in her home state because officials can't or won't do their jobs properly. Silver's concerns represent more than just friendly advice from a partner league. They represent a warning that the NBA is watching how the WNBA handles its most valuable asset, and they're not impressed with what they're seeing. When you've got billion-dollar media deals and expansion plans on the line, you can't afford to have your commissioner and officials failing at this basic level. Angelbert's failures have put the entire WNBA at risk. Officials can't protect Clark. Viewership crashes without her. And now she's missing their biggest weekend. Silver's warnings aren't suggestions, they're ultimatums. Fix the officiating, protect your stars, or watch everything collapse. The WNBA better listen, like, and subscribe for more truth.